Hello everybody and welcome to the BGG 10 versus 10.
10 versus 10. We are the Brothers Murph. My name is Nick Murphy.
I'm Mike Murphy.
Yes, we are the Brothers Murph. We're here on BGG comparing our top 10s to BGG's top 10s. And BGG's top 10s are your top 10s.
It's the top 10
it's not like
of the
Scott,
people.
It's not Aldi or Lincoln's top 10.
It's the top 10 of the people. So basically what we're going to be doing in this series is curating our own top 10 based on whatever category. Like this time it's going to be worker placement games.
Indeed.
And then we're going to see what are the most highly ranked worker placement games on all of BoardGameGeek.
Yes, indeed. So the people's technically top 10 on BoardGameGeek against our top 10. There may be some crossover. There may be times where we're like, y'all have no idea what you're talking about. And a lot of times where I'm sure you think we have no idea what we're talking about.
Exactly. That's why I like the idea. Do we have our finger on the pulse of the people or not?
Nope.
I think we should find out. So this would be a good way to kind of learn a little bit about games and what games are really capturing the imaginations of all the folks out there.
Absolutely.
On BoardGameGeek.com. So I think without further ado, let's get into our top 10.
Let's do it.
So our number 10 is Everdell, produced by Starling Games and released in 2018. Everdell is a game of dynamic tableau building and worker placement, and you only have 3 actions you do in this game. You can either put a worker down to gain some resources and cards, use those resources to build buildings and critters and make your town really nice, or you can prepare for the next season and gain all of your workers back and perks. So why do we like Everdell, man?
We like Everdell. I think it comes down to the fact that as an intro worker placement game, it's really up there with the best. People talk about Lords of Waterdeep, a couple other ones, but I really think that Everdell is a great worker placement game because of the fact that it's so easy to teach, because the worker placement is very intuitive to then help and work on your tableau.
Yep.
And so you're like, oh, I need to put in this card. I need 2 wood and a stone. Well, these spots up here give me 2 wood. This one gives me stone.
I want to put these critters and things. I need these resources. I can get those resources from those spaces. All of the worker spots usually will give you cards or resources. So it's nice and simple.
Yeah, and it's not the deepest worker placement, not the deepest mechanics, but it's just like, as we like it so much because it works so well. Because that's one of the hardest parts about worker placement is like, it's very difficult to get into worker placement because it's very information heavy in the front. And Everdell is a really good way to, it's a game that limits that information and focuses on something else, and it makes that part easy to grok, easy to understand, and just overall nice.
And that's why we like Everdell. But what is number 10 from BGG?
So BGG's number 10 is Anachrony, which was published by Mind Clash Games in 2017. Now, Anachrony is all about time travel, and you are traveling back in time using time rifts to supply your former self with supplies so that they can do different things. You will use all sorts of specialists and exosuits to score the most points in this game of time traveling worker placement. So Anachrony is such a cool, because it's got such a cool theme that I feel like is very hard to do in games.
Yeah, it introduces time travel, like the whole idea that you're getting resources from like the future, and then you have to slide back into the past to pay the resources. So it's like it's like
a very
crazy idea,
and I think that's why it's not higher on our list, because I like Anachrony a lot, but it's just
burns your brain
we've
out.
played it a couple times, and it's just. It's so hard for me to grok. I don't know what it is. It's hard for me to get it all down, and so I think that has impeded my enjoyment of it a little bit.
Like when it comes to time travel, we're less Doctor Who, more Bill and Ted.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Like,
that is accurate.
I just think like
we're more like Socrates.
Maybe if we were a little more with the brains, we'd be able to like.
But it is a great game. It's just I think it's going to climb for me personally after a few more plays. We don't actually have this game, but a couple of our friends do, and so we want to keep playing it. I'm excited about the expansion. Anachrony's a tough one. It's a great one, but it's a bit of a tough one. It's a bit of a toughie. But ultimately, it's very good. Good choice, BGG people, because that's and I'm sure that's on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, y'all choose good games. But let's get into number 9.
Now, our number 9 is Kitchen Rush, which is published by Artipia Games in 2017. Now, this is a real-time cooperative worker placement game where you are working in a kitchen all together. New customers are coming in. You have to prepare the meals they want in the least time possible. But be careful, because you need to make sure you have all the ingredients, all the spices, and make sure they are cooked to perfection to win this cooperative game. It's hard. So this one, I feel like takes years off of my life, you know? Like every time we play it,
chaos.
I'm gonna die earlier and earlier in life every single time we play this game.
Running a kitchen is hard work, and from what I understand, like in real life, it is crazy and difficult, and you're under the wire. And so this game, I like it because, first of all, it's a cooperative worker placement game, which are not
pretty
many
rare,
of.
yeah.
And it has this idea of real time, and your workers have to spend a certain amount of time on each action. And so it's really, how do I be as effective with my time as possible while still activating worker placement spots? And then you still have the worker placement thing of, I'm here, and now I'm blocking you out of the oven.
Yes, exactly.
You need me out of the oven, but now, like, I want to get out of your way. So it's just a really cool twist on worker placement.
And I think I think making a real-time kitchen worker placement game is accurate, because if you work in a kitchen, it's go, go, go. Like someone orders something, you want to get their food to them as quickly as humanly possible. Yep. And all your workers are hourglasses, and that's how you know you can move them, is once the sand is out, and then you flip it to somewhere else. And it's just, we play it live on our Twitch stream a lot, and it's just incredibly fun. It is so fun.
It's not a boring game.
No, you have to like getting stressed out, and it's super hard too. And we love Kitchen Rush.
Indeed, so check it out. But what is the number 9 from the people of BoardGameGeek? Number 9 from BoardGameGeek is the Voyages of Marco Polo by Z-Man Games, released in 2015. In this game, you recreate Marco Polo's famous journeys, and you are a worker who's given basically a superpower. You have some sort of OP broken thing, and using dice every round to gain resources and camels, travel around, hopefully set up shop in many cities, hopefully at the end being in Beijing and being basically the best Marco Poloist around. Now, Voyages of Marco Polo is a game that I have played, but you have not had a chance to.
I actually haven't played this one. No.
Right.
We have not played every game in the world yet.
I quite like this one because it kind of plays with the idea of people being overpowered.
Everyone's broken, right?
Everyone's broken.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's got something ridiculous that they can do. You're like, this isn't fair. And so, like, everyone has some ridiculous thing they do, and you're sort of racing out to different cities and things like that, and it's all about kind of like the dice you play. Similar like Rajas the Ganges, which, you know, certain different values of dice will be good for different other areas. So far, I got no problems with BoardGameGeek's list.
Honestly, I think
that people have it right so far.
This list, although even if we have some crossover or not, this is a list I think we're gonna be pretty okay with.
Mad. Worker placement's great, so how can you be mad?
I mean, it's the best mechanic.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into number 8. So our number 8 is The Pursuit of Happiness by Artipia Games and released in 2015. In The Pursuit of Happiness, you finally get to live the life you always wanted. In the game, your workers are time, and you're going to live a life from birth all the way to your demise, and it's up to you to decide, what kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to do a lot of projects? Do I want to have a lot of physical things? Do I want to have relationships and make my life all about the love? It's up to you to decide in this really fun game where you're looking for the ultimate joy, lifelong happiness. Finally, the answer to the game of life.
To the game of life, yes.
You actually get to play a game where you go through a life.
Yeah, this one is great because this is one of the ultimately many games that we play that I really could care less if I won the game or not. I just want to live
weird life.
A super weird life.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have a book collection, join a motorcycle gang. You know, I just want to do. You can do so much weird stuff in this game.
It's so fun because it all comes down to how you use your time. And again, the little players are hourglasses.
This is Artipia and time.
I know, man. They're just so time obsessed. And so I love the idea that you're like, well, how much of my time am I going to commit to learning this hobby or working on this project? And I just think it's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And you can make your life absolutely strange. You can change what you want your life
7
to
relationships,
be.
3 jobs.
Absolutely.
You know?
Why not? It's all you. And at the end, no matter what, you're just going to die of a heart attack anyway.
Every single person dies of a heart attack at the end, and it's great.
It's brilliant. So it's just so fun, and the art and stuff and everything is really cool. And so it's just one that always creates a fun experience for all the players that we play it with. Like, we always laugh at some point with someone's decision, and we all get wrapped up into telling the greater story of what these actions mean that we've done for ourselves.
Totally. It just gets super weird, and if you really get into the game, it's so good. It's just so good.
It's so good. So have fun with that one.
But let's check in on BGG and see what they think.
Better be the same game.
It's not. BGG's number 8 is Robinson Crusoe, Adventures of the Cursed Isle, which is published by Portal Games in 2012. This is a cooperative survival worker placement game. You are on just the worst island ever, and you are just trying to stay alive and complete a scenario. Each different scenario has different goals and different winning conditions and different things that you are trying to do. You'll have to overcome animals, overcome weather, and just stay alive. You won't. You're gonna die. So Robinson Crusoe is great. We both like it a lot. I think it's just so brutal that it's so hard to get to the table because we have it, we love it, but it's like, man, it just can be so demoralizing.
You can slog through 2 hours and struggle and grind and get so close, and then you just don't make it.
Yeah,
you don't get
just
that fire started. They never see. They never.
You
see
can die
from
like the very, very end. Yeah. It's so amazing. And I would say the worker. I'm actually kind of surprised that this is on this list, considering the worker placement's pretty minimal.
Well, but it is like the thing that you're doing.
I guess it is,
but you don't think about it because you spend so much time agonizing over what you should do. But like when you finally decide what to do, that's what you're doing is you're putting workers out.
I guess it's
and
true.
Committing time, from your workers.
But it's not really the thing you're focusing on. I feel like kind of like Everdell, where the thought process is more on building your city out, not the worker placement. But the worker placement's ultimately how you do everything.
Right.
That's how I feel Robinson Crusoe is.
I think that's a good sign of a game because you're not thinking of it mechanically like, well, there's a space over there, I should go there because it's an open space. You're thinking, I'm all wrapped up in the story and I need to create some palisades because there's a storm coming. This is going to help me build that. And then what did you just do? You just put something down on a worker placement space and you didn't even realize.
Yeah, totally.
You're so wrapped up in what's going on.
Totally. But Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Isle is BGG's number 8. Ultimately, pretty darn good game.
Great game.
Pretty good game.
Good game.
Should we get number 7?
Yep.
So our number 7 is Voyages of the Ganges, published by Hutch and R&R Games in 2017. In this game, you are taking on the role of a Raja, a nobility, and you are using your workers and you're using your dice, which are the currency in this game, to try and gain fame and riches, to try to keep your karma high and try to build out your estate. But this game is a race. The first one to finish will win. So Voyages of the Ganges is a game that has really just ratcheted up the ranks for both of us. Yeah. We really
it's ultimately a racing game. You're using the worker placement to race to a finish.
Indeed. There are 2 different score tracks. There's the money score track and the fame score track. They start on either side. The first person to cross them will trigger the end of the game. The game will end after one more turn. And then basically whoever crossed them the farthest is the person who ultimately wins. So it's very, very interesting because there's a lot of different ways to get fame, a lot of different ways to get money. So you can try to meet them in the middle, or you can just go like no fame, all money, or you can go the other way around. Exactly. Right. And one thing I like about games like this is a 1 pip on a die isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
A 6 isn't necessarily better than a 1. Yeah. And then on top of that, you have a kind of like a Karuba board that you're building out with like paths and stuff like that. It looks like that.
Back to your palace.
It's such a good game that we really, really liked when we first played it. And we got it and it's just kind of like and just ratcheting up the ranks. I love Voyages of the Ganges.
It is fantastic, but is it on BoardGameGeek's list? So number 7 from BoardGameGeek is Le Havre, The Harbor by Lookout Games and released in 2008. Now this game is all about working at a harbor and gaining resources that are coming in off the docks and hopefully using those to build buildings, upgrade those resources so that you can use fewer things to do more actions and really work a market, all in the name of having a big old harbor empire. The person with the most wealth, both accumulated and from their buildings and ships at the end of the game, wins. So this is an interesting game. It's like an older game on this list where it's kind of cool. So a big part of the game is like, how do I upgrade my resources to better resources, which allow me access to better buildings, more energy, better steady food supply because you got to feed your workers. And there's this kind of market of buildings you can build. And if I build a building and then you come use that building, you got to pay me.
That's right.
You ultimately want to have a ton of money, this big kind of enterprise.
Fish money.
Fish money. You want to have that mad fish money.
That mad fish money.
That fish and coal money, the 2 classic industries, fish and coal.
According to BoardGames, we got silk, fish, and coal. That's it.
Fish is the most valuable thing on the planet. And to be fair,
we live
near the coast.
It's literally fuel whole civilizations forever. But you know, it's just I just love it.
Just that. But Le Havre is a super cool one that I want to play more and one I want to show you. I think you'll enjoy
I haven't played
especially because it's an older game, but that still plays, well today.
And it's an Uwe Rosenberg game, and we both are big Uwe Rosenberg fans, particularly the kind of like the big worker placement games he does. Those are games that I'm probably most interested in from him, and this is one of those. This is again the top list. This is probably also the top 5 of games that maybe want to get played.
Yep, yada.
All right, so let's move on to number 6.
Dang. So our number 6 is Architects of the West Kingdom by Garphill Games, released in 2018. In Architects of the West Kingdom, it's up to you to use a pool of workers to invest in different areas and actions, gaining resources, building buildings, and making many moral decisions, because in this game, you can make an underhanded deal or two or steal from the tax man, but if your reputation plummets too far in the end, you might be punished and sent to jail. So this game is fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Next number.
No,
this game is
so
cool
good.
Because
it's so good.
You have like 20 odd workers, and you have this pool, and the fact that you can go to simple spaces, but spaces, unlike most worker placement games, are not limited.
They're not blocked, yeah.
They're not blocked, and tons of people can come on down there.
Exactly.
And in fact, if you go there like 3 or 4 times, those spaces become better and better.
They become valuable for you. Really, what we describe, it's a worker placement, but it's also a worker investment game, because the more you invest in a certain spot, the better it is. If you go to the wood spot, you go there to the forest, you put a person down, you get a wood. But that person stays there. They don't come back. And then if you put a second person there, you're going to get 2 wood, and so on and so forth. And there's also a spot, but here's the issue, is that there's also a spot where you can round up people and then send them off to jail.
Apparently, loitering is a real big issue.
It's a real big issue
in this kingdom. If there's like 4 or 5 people, then you're protesting without a permit, and that's not allowed.
Yeah, not an issue in the East Kingdom. West Kingdom, huge loitering problem.
Get out of here.
It's a very interesting balance where the game isn't like round-based. You just keep going around and around and around.
It's based, it ends off of once a certain amount of buildings have been built.
Yes, exactly. And it's very, very interesting. And it's a cool take on. I want to see kind of these more of these investments. There's been some before, but I really think Architects is a prime example of it.
Absolutely. But what does BoardGameGeek have for their number 6?
BoardGameGeek's number 6 is Tzolk'in, the Mayan Calendar, which is published by Czech Games Edition in 2012. Your workers go for rides in this game. There are 3 big cogs that adorn the board, and you put your workers on there, and then they spin, and you get to choose when they hop off to gain that reward. Do you keep your worker on there longer to gain a richer reward, or do you take them off earlier, gain a less reward, but get them back earlier? So we finally got to play Tzolk'in. This was
recently.
I guess this year, yeah. And so it's like, but this was near the top of our list for a long time, and
someone play those cogs,
because we love worker placement, and the idea of the cogs in the game are just fascinating to me. It's such again, talk about interesting concepts. Like I feel like
having to plan ahead, sort of.
Yes, plan ahead, and again, kind of you're investing time into your workers, and it's a game that I would probably pick up if we found it somewhere. I really, really enjoy it.
Absolutely. I think it's so cool. It didn't disappoint, even though it was on our list to play for a long, long time. It's one I definitely would want to play again and pick up at some point.
Super cool. Again, tough to get into. Luckily, the reason why we waited so long is we're like, I want someone to teach us this game.
Yeah.
Like, we just need someone to teach us. And luckily, Chris and Wendy Yee from Meeple Overboard taught us the game. And thank you for that, because it was just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. All right, so let's go ahead and go into number 5. Our number 5 is Dungeon Petz, published by Czech Games Edition in 2011. Everyone loves baby animals, but these baby animals will probably kill you. In Dungeon Petz, you are a pet shop owner raising vicious little baby pets, and you are selling them off to dungeon lords. But all the dungeon lords will want something specific, so you have to raise your pets in a very specific way to appease the dungeon lords. Upgrade your shop, make sure your pets' needs are taken care of in this crazy fun, crazy cute, super hard worker placement game. This game is set in the same realm, the same world as the game Dungeon Lords, also by Vlaada Chvátil and CGE Games. But this is such a weird concept, and such a game that's so rich with theme. We got this game very early on in our board gaming our board gaming life and careers. You know, we
2 words: monster poop.
Monster poop. That's why we got it, because we were like, the theme is so cool in this game.
Awesome.
We watched a Rahdo runs through early on in a board game. We got this game. It was way too heavy for us.
Yeah.
Because this is a decently heavy game. I mean, it's medium weight to heavyweight. Yeah. And it's got a really cutesy theme. You got to meet all their needs and have them grow. And then dungeon lords start coming through the city in the subsequent rounds. And then certain dungeon lords will want certain things. So this one wants a really, really mean pet, because they're a big, mean dungeon lord. The old granny dungeon lord, she's like, man, she wants a pet that eats a lot and that gets sick a lot, because she wants to take care of it.
Poor little sick dungeon.
And so you are catering these animals to then sell them to the dungeon lords, because you always know what the next round is going to want, so you can plan ahead.
Like exhibitions, so you can do like shows.
You're putting on shows. You're like, look at my pet. He has 14 teeth and a big old spiked tail. I feel like this is like one of the epitomes of worker placement. One thing I love about it is like, I need to do 26 things and I can do 4 of them. Yep. And you just have to prioritize what's most important. Like, do I need to get food so my pets can eat? Do I need to get a new cage so this pet doesn't break out? Like all these different things. And it's just excruciating and so fun. But it's a game that I feel like the theme makes it so much easier, because the game is so like, just like, oh, how am I gonna get this done? How am I gonna get this done? But the theme, you're like, oh, but look at the little fish. And look at demonic rabbit. And that kind of light theme, I feel like, keeps you going. The world, I feel like it doesn't get as much love as it should. So Dungeon Petz, love it.
All right, number 5 from BoardGameGeek is A Feast for Odin, produced by Z-Man Games and released in 2016. In this game, basically, you're going to be using your workers on a central board with tons of actions, and it's up to you to decide how to use your pool of workers to either gather resources, build ships and settlements, explore the world, upgrade your resources, all in the name of putting them onto your player board and really upgrading your entire empire, all in the name of victory points. So, Feast for Odin is, I'm going to tell you right now, it's on our list at some point coming up here.
I think it's garbage.
I think it's good.
I think it's hot garbage.
I like it a lot.
No, it's so
I'd say it's my favorite game.
It is Mike's favorite game. Period. It is Mike's favorite game in the whole world is Feast for Odin. So we like Feast for Odin quite a bit. Yes,
we agree with
good.
The people.
I mean, yeah, we agree with the people. It's like, you got a lot of options.
You got a lot of options, and that creates the interest and tension. It's like, what direction do I want to go? It's almost a pursuit of happiness-ish, where it's like, what do I want my life to be? Do I want to be off on islands exploring? Do I want to kind of stay home and raise cattle? Really, it's about efficiency, the game.
Yes.
Because you have all of these tiles that, there might be food things that start off as orange, but they can flip over to kind of better food items that are red, which they can flip over to green tiles of the same shape, which can then go onto your player board, which is ultimately what you're trying to do. You're trying to fill out this player board with all these polyomino tiles, patchwork style, which is where patchwork came from. And so it's really about, how do I upgrade these things in an efficient way while keeping my Vikings fed and happy, while I have all these options available to me. And so the tricky part is, what option do I choose?
And I think that's the problem with, it's not, here's the thing, I was going to say that's the problem with Feast for Odin. That's not necessarily true, because it depends on who you are. This is not a problem for us, but this is a problem for some people. It's 100% open. You have no guide.
Game.
There's a lot of games. There's a lot of games, particularly worker placement games, that kind of guide you in a certain way. This one does not. It literally just says, do whatever you want, and that can turn some people off. For me, I love that. I love that. Like, each time I play Feast for Odin, I'm like, I'm just gonna do something totally different.
Something weird.
I'm just gonna be fish guy, and just, I'm gonna be all about fish and pigs. That's it. Fish and pigs. Nailed it. And it's just like, I love that about it. But some people get there and like, I don't know what to do, and that can stress some people out.
I would not start anyone.
Oh God, no! Please don't do that to somebody.
Yeah, but it is fantastic because the whole world is your oyster. So shuck it. All right. On that note, let us get into number 4 from us. Our number 4 is Prodigals Club, released by Czech Games Edition in 2015. In Prodigals Club, you're trying to balance 3 different things. You're trying to lose an election, you're trying to lose all of your possessions, and you're trying to make enemies out of all of your best friends in high society. That's right, in this game, you need to balance all these different areas, using your workers to drive down your reputation and basically just try to kind of be the worst.
Just the worst.
Awful.
The worst person. It's so much fun.
What a fun theme.
It's
Let
so
me just
good.
be the most terrible person.
Gosh, the terrible person I can think of. It's such So this is, again, kind of a sequel to Last Will. And we like this
incorporate
one
them.
more,
Yeah.
for sure. But gosh, this game is good, man. It's just such an interesting, tight game. It's a game where you're like, there's no way I can get all this done. Like, you're looking at it halfway through the game, you are hopeless. You are just like, there's no way.
Because you have so few actions, really, that you can do in a 5-round game. It goes by fast.
Yes.
And you have these 3 areas. You can do 2, but it's more fun at 3 because then you're just really in agony
You need to do the whole
over
thing,
what... I haven't been offensive enough in front of people during my political speeches. I got to
know.
go down to the bar and get drunk in front of people. So they're like, this guy is not stable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you need to work. It's not like Feast for Odin. You're kind of like, do whatever you want. It's like, no, this one, you need to work on the 3 spots of it because whatever, again, you want low scores in this. Whatever your highest score is on either 3 models, that's your score for the game. And so you have to do everything. And it is so hard. It's so hard. But again, this kind of like Dungeon Petz, I feel like the theme keeps you going because you're just like, how am I going to do this? So like, well, I'm going to go to Hyde Park and just start screaming some Marxist theories and just
bullhorn.
Yeah, just get on a bullhorn and just start yelling at people. You know, just get hammered. It's just so weird, and it's such a good game though. I mean, it really, really is. If you like Last Will, try this. They're both good. We don't really like Last Will that much.
No, we don't.
He doesn't like Last Will. I like Last Will. But nonetheless, they're both good. But we personally like Prodigals Club significantly more, and it's just so good.
Yeah. Man, it's good. But what is Board Game Geek's number 4, Nick?
It's
we know ours.
A similar theme. Board Game Geek's number 4 is Agricola, published by Lookout Games in 2011. In Agricola, you start off as a lowly farmer with just a spouse and a little shack, but you have to build your farm, build your little farming empire in whatever way you want. You can become a better farmer, or you can have a bunch of kids to expand your workforce. Which route will you take in this farm game? So this is a game that neither of us has played. And I'm sure people will just not like us. I've had no interest.
Like, I love dry Euros, but geez, give me a break.
Put a little salt on it. I don't know what it is. I've never had any interest to play Agricola. I don't know what it is.
I've heard it's, well, I mean, I think the reason is because we've played things like Caverna and Feast for Odin and stuff, which aren't like exactly the same, but...
They're big Uwe. If you don't know, Uwe is kind of the king of like big heavy Euros.
Yeah,
he's been on the list many times.
You always got to feed your people, but I hear Agricola is a little more punishing than some of the kind of newer versions of things. So it's something I would love to play because it is a classic.
It's such an iconic game at this point.
Like, we wouldn't have nearly the amount of great worker placement in big Euro games that we have if it weren't for something like Agricola, which was humongous. Still is humongous.
Yeah, still wide. I mean, obviously widely considered one of the best.
It's one of those we haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, you know, it's just we'll play it. I've never really sought it out. But
it'll happen.
Hey, if you ever see us at a convention, you're like, let's play Agricola. I'll be like, nah. I was like, of course.
Nah, I'll be over there.
I'll be over here playing something else.
I'll watch you play it, and then you can just tell me how it went. No, we'll play it sometime. Just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, totally. So that is BG's number 4, Agricola. Apparently a good game, according to you.
According to y'all, the people. That's it. Just according to everybody.
You know, nothing. All right, so let's go on to number 3. Our number 3 is Shakespeare, published by Astari Games in 2015. We are thespians here, and the life of a thespian is very stressful and sad. In this game, you are going to be using your workers to build lavish costumes, build grand sets, and to work on the 3 acts to improve your play. Whoever has the best play by the end of the game, that's the play the queen will come see, and that player wins the game. This, I feel like, is... This and a game called Histrio are our 2 biggest evangelism games.
Yes.
We constantly try to get people to play this game.
More people need to play them.
More people need to play these games. They're the best.
Shakespeare is fantastic because
so good.
I don't know of any worker placement game that hurts more than Shakespeare in terms of that.
It's
what you were saying earlier, you have 15 things to do.
Yeah.
You have to do it today. You can only do 3.
Yeah.
And it adds on because in this one, there's this whole bidding system with your actions. You can have up to 5 actions in a round. But if you take all 5, you're going last that round. Yeah. And by the time it gets to you, everything that you might have needed to do might be gone. All the costume pieces, all the set parts might be gone before you get there. So maybe I want to only have 3 actions and hope that I get to go first, so I get to do the one thing I really need to do. And so you limit yourself purposefully, which I think is incredible. And it's got a great theme. I love the theater theme. We're both obviously theater guys, especially Mike. But it's like... What? The theater. But it's a great, and it's beautiful and cool and got such a cool area. And you also can take
a couple different ways you can like really build up a really nice set, or sometimes you can go really minimalist with your set. You can have really lavish costumes. It's kind of up to you. And you're working on the 3 acts of your play, and those are done by these 3 different tracks, or denoted by these 3 different tracks, but you don't necessarily need to work on all 3 of them. You could work on like 2 of them, or really work on 1 of them. So you could have like a really bad act 1, but you finish really strong with act 3. It's kind of up to you. Absolutely incredible. So yeah, Shakespeare, so good. Play if you haven't. Evangelize, spread the good word. It's so good.
So good. Now, what is Board Game Geek's number 3? I gotta know. Number 3 from Board Game Geek is Orleans by DLP and TMG Games, and released in 2014. In this game, you are going to amass a following of monks, merchants, knights, sailors, farm folk, and scholars even. I don't know, it's up to you. And basically you're gonna create this bag and pool of workers, and hopefully you pull out the right combination of the right workers at the right time so that you may put them out onto your action board, traveling around, trading in goods and everything that you would ever wanna do in old-timey France. So here's the thing. This is one of our favorite games, but it didn't make the list because I never think of it as a worker placement game.
I think of it as a bag building game. And that's kind of my thing. I'm like, what's wrong with all of you?
But your followers, then you then put onto spaces, so it kind of is worker placement.
Once you have your followers, then it's kind of worker placement. But to me, it does not register as that.
I don't know if
so
I buy it.
This, I think, was in both of our top 10 games of all time. But it's not on this list because to us, we just...
Spoilers.
We never think about it. Like, it's just, it's not, I don't know, it's not something I think of as a worker placement. I think of it more as a bag building game.
Yeah.
And it's more akin to like deck building. It's like, yeah, you get these cards and then you can do what you want with these cards. Yeah. So to us, it doesn't really feel like it, but I guess I can totally see where people are coming from, even though you're all wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, that's fine too.
That's fine too.
Ken will have her fine too.
No,
Orleans is... because we could have been saying Orleans for 2, but now this is our only chance to get Orleans, which is the proper pronunciation.
That's exactly, yeah.
Anyway, Orleans is a great game. We love it very much. And I guess when we think about it, it kind of is a worker placement game, but you're being blocked out by randomness.
Yeah, totally.
And you can try to hedge your bets and get a lot of certain things to hope that you get your thing that you want, but you just might not.
Yeah, you might not.
You might get that scholar when you really need the most.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway.
All right, so let's go on number 2.
Yeah. So our number 2 is A Feast for Odin. And it's... it's what that guy said.
Crossover.
Number 5 on Board Game Geeks. Now our number 2. It's my personal number 1 game. It's somewhere in your top 10.
It was my number 3. Which is crazy because they're like
it.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, worker placement, to be fair, is our favorite game mechanic. But yeah, Feast for Odin, as we said before, is great because you have all these different options, and it's, I think, in the Viking spirit to explore. And so in this game, you explore.
Explore whatever you want.
You know what I mean? And that's really it. So we don't need to rehash all the reasons that we said
go through it all again.
Are why it's fantastic.
Y'all are right.
We agree with the people.
We're best friends.
We all agree it's the best game. It should be the first worker placement game you play, the only worker placement game you play. Get that Norwegians expansion. Oh my.
Norwegians is great.
It tastes delicious.
All right, let's go to BGG's number 2. Board Game Geek's number 2 is Caverna the Cave Farmers, published by Lookout Games in 2013. We're dwarves, farming dwarves. We don't farm dwarves. We're dwarves that farm. We like corn and such. And basically in Caverna, you are a farming dwarf, and you are going to be going on quests and building out your dwelling, building out your farm, trying to have the best farm possible. You're having kids, having workers. It's just great. We're farming dwarves. It's just, I'm going to be a donkey farmer, I think. So this was kind of the spiritual successor to Agricola.
That's how we look at it anyway.
That's how I think a lot of people look at it in that way.
There's a lot of overlap.
And this is a game that we played, and so this is I feel like kind of the reason why we've never played Agricola, because we played Caverna. I like Caverna quite a bit. We've also obviously played Feast for Odin, and Feast for Odin is kind of like our go-to big, heavy Uwe Rosenberg game. Mm-hmm. But Caverna is great. It's got a super, super cool action selection system with the board, and more and more actions come out as the game goes on.
Which is so cool.
And you can go on quests, and I love the building out. You can build out your home, which is like building out underground using all dwarves. Yeah, you're digging farther and farther into the cave, and you're like building different dwellings. All the dwellings give you something else. Or outside, you can build out your like animal pens. You're breeding sheep and donkeys and all this kind of stuff. And it's super, super cool.
You can get a pet dog, which is nice.
You can have a pet dog, and that dog herds sheep. It's just great.
But that's what I like is that when you start off the game, you only have access to a few spaces,
Yes.
and every round more spaces come up. So at least that part is kind of just bite-sized. Ooh, what's this?
And it's nice because you can teach as you go.
Yes.
Because you don't have to teach everything up front, which is one of the main problems with worker placement, is you usually have to teach everything up front.
So it kind of self-manages that way, which is, at least it's one less thing that you have to have up front because there already is a lot.
One less thing to worry about. So that is Caverna, your number 2. Great game. Ultimately great game.
Let's get into the number 1, so that's why we're here. Let's be honest.
Fancy. Our number 1 is Viticulture, published by Stonemaier Games in 2015. We are getting wine drunk mid-game day because in Viticulture, you are running your own vineyard. You are using your workers in 2 different seasons, summer and winter. You plant grapes and you give tours in summer. You harvest those grapes and make wine in winter. At the end of this game, the best wino wins. So this, should we?
It's our number 1 as well.
Yes,
there, what do you want?
Say, should we just spoil
Let's just
it? Fine.
Smash it all
Let's
together.
just go ahead and smash all the lower thirds. Are going to be doing weird stuff.
Yes.
This is both of our number 1. This is my favorite game. This was your number 2.
Number 2.
So that's the thing is like Feast for Odin is your number 1.
One.
My number 3. This is number 1 and number 2. Feast for Odin is such a good game. Not Feast for Odin. Let's do
That too.
Viticulture is such a, it's my favorite game. It's been, I just love it so much. So in this game,
incredible.
you're running vineyards.
Yeah. And it's all about like, how do you only have a certain amount of workers, and what workers do I commit to kind of the first half of the year or the second half of the year? In the first half of the year, I'm doing more like planting, getting my vines and stuff, getting that going. The second half of the year is when we're harvesting those things and turning into wines and selling and stuff. And so you really, it's about this balance.
It's kind of the antithesis to something like Feast for Odin, which is so open. This one is like, no. If you want to make wine, you need to plant grapes first, and then you need to harvest those grapes. Then you need to squish those grapes into juice, and then you need to make that juice into wine to then deliver this order.
I appreciate it's linear. If you think like, if I actually wanted to make some wine today, what do I got to do?
How would I do
don't
that?
have grapes. How do I get grapes? We got to plant them.
Where do I get grapes?
You know what I mean? I'm not going to Ralph's to make Ralph's wine, And so it's like, I feel like you can logically understand it, and then it comes down to like, how do I then go about achieving these things?
And if you've ever played it, play it with the Tuscany expansion because it makes it even better. But I think without it, it'd probably still be my number 1, honestly.
Yeah, Viticulture Essentials Edition on its own is incredible. It's just one of the best games. It's good, tight worker placement that scales well. Can play 2 to 6, and it's honestly good from 2 through 6.
And I will say a lot of worker placement, as a mechanic, worker placement tends to scale pretty well, generally as a mechanic. Because you can just limit the amount of spots people can go to.
And you keep that tightness and that fight for these spaces. Viticulture, like I said, it's our number 1. They're your number 1.
We're in this together, everybody.
We all agree it's fantastic, and you get to make wine, and it's just like, just makes you feel
even as 2 guys
like
who don't drink, it just feels fancy.
I'll make a wine though. I don't know. Maybe I won't.
I'll make a blush.
I'll make a blood. I'll make a sparkling. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's just super duper fun. So that is our top 10 versus Board Game Geek's top 10, the top 10 of the people. I think that we both have very good lists.
I think we all have very good taste.
We have very good taste.
But what top 10 verses would you like to see us do next? Put it down in the comments below. You want to talk about engine builders or a different mechanic or a different theme or anything like that? Any different categories that you can pick from BGG, we could potentially do one of these for. So let us know down in the comments which one you would want to see the most.
Absolutely. And tell us what we missed. What's not on our list? What's not on your list? And how can you change the list? You can sign up for your own profile on BoardGameGeek.com and rate your games. You can help influence these lists. In theory, we could come back to do the same topic next year, and our list will be different, and Board Game Geeks will be different because you've gone in and input and given your thoughts on these games on the site itself.
Indeed.
So do check that out. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mike Murphy.
I'm Nick Murphy.
We're the Brothers Murph here on BoardGameGeek.com. Have a great day.
Bye.